Game of Thrones is full of satisfying character reunions, especially during its later seasons, but one would have been better if the show hadn't cut a crucial part of Arya Stark's story. Although Game of Thrones' early seasons are fairly faithful to George R.R. Martin's books, they do make a few significant changes. Among the biggest is the show leaving out a crucial element of the Stark family's story, the fact that they are wargs. This allows them to infiltrate the minds and bodies of animals, in the Starks' case, mostly their direwolves. The Starks' warg powers are prominent in the Song of Ice and Fire books, but only Bran demonstrates them in the HBO show. And even he doesn't utilize these abilities to his full potential. The wildling Oral is a better example of what a warg with full control of his abilities can do. The choice to eliminate the Stark children's warging stems from a bigger decision to focus on the fight for the Iron Throne over the magical elements of Martin's world. It's one of Game of Thrones' more questionable choices, and it hurts an otherwise satisfying Season 7 reunion. Cutting Arya's warg powers downplays her bond with Nymeria in Game of Thrones. Her ongoing connection to her direwolf isn't touched on at all. All the Stark siblings show signs of being wargs in the Song of Ice and Fire books, even if they are subtle. However, Arya appears most in tune with the ability after Bran, as she continually wargs into Nymeria when she's dreaming. In Martin's source material, this allows Arya to maintain her connection with Nymeria beyond Book 1, even if she has no idea that she's doing so. It also serves as a tie to her past, allowing Arya to remember that she's a Stark even as she abandons that name to hide from the Lannisters and eventually become no one. Unfortunately, Game of Thrones doesn't depict Arya and Nymeria's ongoing bond because it doesn't cover Arya's warging. This diminishes the relationship between the two characters, suggesting it fades after Arya sets Nymeria free in Game of Thrones Season 1. Those unfamiliar with the books are likely to forget the direwolf exists, as she doesn't appear again until much later, and Arya never really brings her up. And this makes Arya and Nymeria's reunion in Game of Thrones Season 7 somewhat perplexing. It also weakens its emotional weight. Arya and Nymeria's reunion in Game of Thrones Season 7 could have been even better. It would have made more sense if their magical connection was highlighted. Arya kneels in front of Nymeria in Game of Thrones. Arya's reunion with Nymeria in Game of Thrones Season 7, Episode 2 is an emotional moment, but it could have been much better if the show had included Arya's warg powers. Doing so would have set up Nymeria's return much earlier. It also would have made her reaction to Arya more believable. While animals have long memories, it's somewhat surprising the direwolf has her entire pack stand down for the sake of a girl who raised her years ago. If Arya and Nymeria still had a magical connection, this would make more sense. Additionally, Nymeria's decision to go with her pack rather than with Arya would be more powerful if their warg bond was highlighted. Arya and Nymeria are deeply linked, and they both have similar tendencies and personalities. This is captured through Arya's warging in the books. And this is what Arya alludes to when she whispers "That's not you" as Nymeria turns to leave. It's a callback to her own "That's not me" line in Season 1, when Ned tells her she'll one day marry a High Lord and she refuses. If Game of Thrones hadn't downplayed Arya's relationship with Nymeria, this entire scene would be much more meaningful. Unfortunately, the show didn't have much of a choice after it cut most of the Stark siblings' magic. It's a shame this Game of Thrones scene isn't built up to better. However, perhaps Martin's books will do Arya's inevitable reunion with her direwolf justice.